This is Paul Alaje, who is the lead economist at SPM Professionals. Hello, Paul, and welcome to the program.
Yeah, let me say Happy New Year to you. And I'm not sure I've seen you this year. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, Paul, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Now, let's get started. Let's talk about the various CBN policies that we've seen in the last few days. A lot of people really do not understand. You know, it seems that the central bank is coming up with one circular or the other. So let's concentrate on the press releases of the central bank and what they mean. If you can take them one by one, very quickly.
When international money transfer is first that came to mind, and the central bank had issued that because it feels that in order to fight the huge demand for the dollar and also what is fueling the parallel market, some of these could be through the monies that instead of remittances going straight to central bank and remaining with the banks, it might have been finding its way to the parallel market. So if that is done, what we're going to see is that when remittance is made at home, the dollar or the currency can stay with the central bank while Nigerians can collect the Naira equivalent. That is one reason. And that will mean that it will actually affect supply positively. Two is the funds that have been with bank, you know, in terms of FX, the banks, rather than pushing this money directly into the economy, especially to investors or manufacturers that need the money or those that might have requested for the money, bank in some cases, according to central bank, had held this money down, waiting for a time when Naira will get devalued and declare it as part of their profits or gains for the day or for the week or for the month or for the year. So what central bank has done again is to say that you cannot hold beyond 20% of your shareholders' funds with you. The remaining has to go into the system. What would that mean? Supply side again will be boosted, which will also have implication on what exchange rate will be. So a number of other things that central bank have said regarding the demand side, if you don't need dollars, there is no point holding it. So all of this to me is implication with what the central bank is trying to do to see how we can wrap up with our supply side while we significantly reduce what we are doing on the demand side. I must also had the presentation by the central bank to the both chambers, the Senate first, where the central bank spoke about, we cannot print foreign currency. Is the Central Bank of Nigeria, not that of Britain implied, or Central Bank of the Fed. So, and he said the supply side is an issue. He went to the House of Rep and started speaking to the demand side issues. And what he was saying regarding the demand side issue is that Nigeria has a lot of urge for foreign consumption and that we need to reduce the way we demand for foreign currency. Because somebody may say, I've never used dollar before. I say, I'm only living in a rural area. How do I use dollar? It's not true. You are using dollar every day. The moment you climb bike and the bike has fuel in it, from that village to the next village, you have demanded for dollar. Because the bike driver, if that fuel has been imported, then you have made use of the dollar.
And the bike was manufactured abroad.
And it was manufactured in India, if it's Bajaj.
Except if it's assembled here in Nigeria, somewhere in Nnewi or somewhere.
But I think that what the central bank governor should have done with the Senate is that over 100 vehicles were imported by the Senate, and House of Representatives even imported more. So how can a central bank say, you are going to help us combat this ongoing demand for FX if the vehicles you use are now made in Nigeria? Because the vehicles they are using are not made in Nigeria, even though we have, whether you call it assembling plant or manufacturing plant of a vehicle in Nigeria. So we have to show by example. So I've seen some of the things that central bank is trying to do in the last few days is to say, we don't want, so from the body language of central bank.
So what do you think of those actions that we've seen from the central bank in the last few days? Are they on the right path?
It wants to bring stability.
Is it on the right path?
Yes, on the right path, even though there are more to be done. But all I've seen in the last few days are activities to ensure that there is stability. Mark you, the goal of central bank, because this is the excuse we give all central bank around the world, their goal is not to say where currency will be. Their goal is to have stability. If it will be stable around 5,000 or stable around 500, let there be stability. When are you going to get stability? although those have a lot of implication. I don't know if time will permit to look at what
Part
the
of their
implications
job is
are.
foreign exchange management,
Foreign exchange management.
which also impacts the currency.
Yes, it impacts the currency, but will there be stability?
Stability too also impact the currency, inflation.
It also impacts. So you need to look at it. And not just price stability, even FX stability.
That's what I'm talking about.
The two stabilities are very key. And fortunately, that's why you have one central bank. Stability in FX, stability in prices. So inflation and FX market. What seems to be missing in conversation with House of Rep and that of Senate that was not really spoken to as to strategy is inflation is already 28.92%. 28.92%. The core mandate of central bank is to bring price stability and combat inflation. The target of central bank is 6 to 9% in Nigeria. Globally, is 3
Paul, that was before now, not now. You can't say that the target of central bank is 6 to 9%.
Tell me,
yeah, you did this country. That was before.
There is nothing like before. Central bank globally have standard pricing.
Single digits.
Single digit.
Yes. But we are talking about Nigeria, our own. They didn't set it now.
No.
What we used to have, even under Emefiele, was monetary targeting.
No.
But this Cardoso now has set 21.4% is what they are looking at.
It is the budget that set 21%.
I know, but Cardoso has also told that line.
I'm not saying he has not told that line. I'm saying it's important for us. You just showed a match between Nigeria and
Cote d'Ivoire.
Ivory Coast that you discussed. And Nigeria was defeated because instead of Nigeria being aggressive, we were absorbing. At the end of the day, we were defeated. I didn't play the game, but I felt as though I was on the field. The same thing with inflation. If you are absorbing, let's do 21%. The target of inflation, no same country try to say, let me manage double-digit inflation.
I understand
inflation must be single digits.
Yeah, but what I'm asking you now is that the situation we find ourselves now, within the next 1 year, can we get single-digit inflation?
I'm not talking of 1 year. I'm talking of what is the target. See, I'm a macroeconomist and a developmental one. My job is not, I've never believed in quick fixes. I believed in 1999, if we have spread manufacturing sector all around Nigeria, we will not be here. In 2007, if we have done the same, we will not be here. In 2015, if we have done the same, we will not be here. We have not taken those decisions. That is why we are at this point. So saying we are looking at 21% as a short measure on all of those, it's a different conversation entirely. I am telling you, broadly speaking, what are the rules? Not even rules. What are the policies?
How do we get there?
How do we get there? Those are the things we should be discussing. Not we get to 21%. Who knows what will happen around the world tomorrow? If there will be any crisis, externalities that does not affect us. If we are 21%, it's too fragile. Our goal should be, like I compared to yesterday's game, you have one goal, you now relax and start defending. No. If you are 2-3, you can start defending. The same with our macroeconomic objective. Price stability can never come with 21%. Not possible. Price stability can only come with single digits. Exchange rate cannot come to the point of 1,400, 1,500 and say we are stable. Yes, you might not see so much fluctuation, but what happened to prices? And those prices will now influence inflation.
So what is
that inflation will go back to affect FX. You will now have a vicious cycle of some sort.
So what is your own estimate as to where the Naira will be this year?
I don't want to say, and I will tell you. This is a question where
you are a macroeconomist now.
A lot of it.
You just told me you're you just told me you're a macroeconomist, and you do this thing every day. So you must have postulated where the Naira will be.
I don't postulate. I simulate.
I'm saying band.
Yes. Let me say this.
You don't want me to hold you.
No. Here is it. No. But I said to you last year, around August, I think 13th or 14th, during that week, that FX will get to 1,500 by March this year. It got to 1,500 at parallel market 30th of January this year. So it happened before the date you predicted, and it came to pass. I also mentioned to you that inflation will never be single digit last year.
Of course,
inflation remains double digits. And expectation is that it may get to 30% before end of March. That is the expectation. Now, let me tell you the sensitivity of FX, why I don't want to categorically state. I know how much it will be.
No, with all these policies that I'm asking us against all those things you are saying
all
the
these
central
policies,
bank doing.
So, see, all these good moves by central bank are short-term measures. They are not long-term measures.
Okay.
They are short-term measures.
Okay, so what do we expect? What other actions do you expect to show up what the central bank is doing, perhaps on the fiscal side, that will boost the exchange rate?
See, Mr. Cardoso cannot run marathon alone. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So he has started. He's the first person to pick the stick, give it to the next person. But where is trade? We're business journalists. You see, you cannot have stability in FX if you don't have trade. Trade is what is conspicuously missing in President Tinubu's economic team. And trade person is the one that will tell us as to how much are we boosting exports and by how much are we substituting imports.
But that...
All of these I have not seen.
But we can argue that as it could not be immediate. That may not be immediate. That may fall into... No, I'm just saying that may fall into the mid-term plan.
I have not seen...
But what can boost our currency now within the next 3 to 6 months? That's actually what I'm talking. Do you think that the fiscal side can come up with anything?
The lot fiscal side can come up.
Very quickly.
All revenue of government coming from abroad should be done in FX. Protect the pipelines.
Yeah.
If you protect the pipelines, we are going to have more exports.
Okay.
So if you do that, you see, but you see, the real thing we have been running for from 1990 to date is what is the structural way of coming out of this continuous devaluation. Until we have that conversation, in the next 1-2 years, we will still come back to devaluation and instability.
So that will be our next conversation. The foundation to get out of this quagmire and not to go back to it. This economic disaster we find ourselves. But short-term measures, let's ramp up production, volume, so that we can get more FX. I think that is like the shortest...
And plantation in agriculture.
Exactly, that's
so
midterm.
How do you need to stamp out insecurity, but you don't leave it empty. When you leave it empty, my favorite book told me that the devil will go and gang up again, but convert all those bushes into plantation. We are not the first to do it. Awolowo did it, Azikiwe did it, Amadu Bello did it. So many leaders have done it before. We can repeat the same thing.
Okay, so that means we'll look at economic trees, as it were, those trees that will yield us effects. But thank you very much, Paul, for coming. We'll continue this conversation on another day. You've just given me a food for thought foundation to get us out of here.